So the notorious question that college students get is, what is your major? Or what are you majoring in? And my answer is cultural anthropology. And so I usually get mixed responses. Some people are confused and they just don't know what that is. Some pretend they know, but they don't know. And some do actually know. Another response I might get is they misunderstand what anthropology is. So I've had a couple of people, or a few people, that have said, "Oh, you study bugs," or they might have, I told them what it was, and they said, "Oh, I thought you studied bugs." No, I don't study bugs. And then I've had a few other people to say, "Oh, you study bones." No, I don't study bones. Um, I study neither of those things. So based on the mixed responses and confusion that I've had from a lot of people, I thought it would be beneficial to share what anthropology is, and if you are, going into college or university and you're looking at what to major in, you're not really sure. I want this to kind of also be a guide for you as well. And if you're not, that's fine. You could just learn what anthropology is and maybe study it on your own if it interests you. Also, I feel like when I tell people what I major in, I worked so hard to major in it and they don't know what I majored in. They're confused. So I thought if I brought some clarity on it, then maybe in general, people kind of understand what anthropology is. And like I said, you might want to major in it if that interests you, or you could minor in it too. That's an option. Or you could, like I said, study it on your own. So I'm going to break this down into 4 parts. I'm going to clarify some terms. I'm going to go over the history of anthropology, the definitions of anthropology, a little more specifically, the fields of anthropology, and then wrap everything up. Okay, so just a little concept clarity. When people said, "Oh, you study bugs," or "Oh, you study bones," I don't study either of those things. So just to clarify what those fields are, archaeology is one, and entomology. So archaeology, and I'm reading the definition, is the study of human history and prehistory through the excavation of sites and the analysis of artifacts and other physical remains. So this is actually a subfield of anthropology. So close guess, but it's not exactly anthropology and it's not cultural anthropology, which is another subfield. Entomology, or entomology, I think it's entomology. Entomology is the study of insects, bees, ants, beetles, termites, mosquitoes, and other insects, and other related animals or arthropods such as spiders and scorpions. So that is entomology. So the question still remains, what is anthropology? And specifically, what is cultural anthropology? Because that was what I focused in more and concentrated on in school and in general. So anthropology is the study of what makes us human. And I did get these definitions from Google, by the way, and some of them were on a legit website. I'll leave some of the links in the description box below. But basically, anthropology is the study of what makes us human. To understand the full sweep and complexity of cultures across all of human history, anthropology draws and builds upon knowledge from the social and biological sciences, as well as the humanities and physical sciences. And that was according to the American Anthropological Association. I'll leave that link in the description box below if you want to read it. So basically, when I think of anthropology, this is kind of what I see, and I'll give two different illustrations. So for those who are not science inclined, um, I think of anthropology as food. So in general, you have food, right? So let's say you want to start a blog on food. Okay, well, food is too general. So what do you do? Well, you have to break it down. So how would you break it down? Would you break it down by food group? Would you break it down by meal type? Would you separate categories between animals and plants? How would you break it down? Um, Culturally speaking, you could break food down into cuisines. And what I think is interesting is if, let's say, you take a cuisine, so maybe rice, okay? So I don't know if this is necessarily American cuisine, but let's say buttered rice, okay? So let's say you added Italian seasoning to it. Is it Italian rice? Should it be under Italian cuisine? What if you add soy sauce in the rice with Italian seasoning? Which cuisine is it? So there's a lot of factors to consider. So that's basically how I see anthropology under the food context. So if you are scientifically inclined, this is how I see anthropology in that way. So basically, anthropology to me is almost like biology. So, for instance, I know of a couple they both have brown hair and they have two offspring. Okay, one offspring has brunette hair, makes sense. The other offspring has red hair. So, anthropology is sort of like biology in that you have a lot of factors coming together. There's culture, there's subculture, there's family culture, there is personality, there's psychology, sociology. There's just a lot of different ways that you could put someone together. Like if you're creating a character in a book, how would you go about it from an anthropological perspective? What kind of family culture would they have? What is their sociological experiences or standpoint? What is their psychology? What is their personality? Which I guess would be partly psychology. Um, so there's just a lot of different factors to consider, and why generalizing a category is 99% of the time not accurate. Okay, so on to cultural anthropology. Cultural anthropology, like I said, is a subfield of anthropology, and it studies how culture influences human beliefs, practices, and institutions. Cultural anthropologists study how people who share a cultural system organize and shape the world around them. They are interested in all types of societies, from hunting and gathering bands to modern industrial states. Okay, now that we have some basic understanding and definitions out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and go into the history of anthropology. So I actually found this article that was super interesting. I'm not sure why any professor at UNC has not found it or introduced this article because it was so good. I actually found it very enlightening, and it went into the history of anthropology. So if you want to look at it and read it for yourself, I'll leave it in the description box below. You might, if you're not affiliated with an institution, you might have to create an account, and I think you get like 100 articles. I think it's either per month or per year. I don't remember, but I highly recommend it because the article is so good and so interesting. So if you want to know more about the history of anthropology or maybe anthropology in general, then I highly, highly recommend reading it. Right. So I'm going to mention the first sentence of the article and then list some random facts that I thought were interesting and might be helpful to your understanding of anthropology. So I'm going to read those because they are just worded pretty well, and I'll try to concise them if possible because there are a lot of interesting facts. So, the first sentence of the article says the earliest recorded use of anthropology in a way similar to its use today was a book with that title published in Leipzig, Germany in 1501. And then some random facts out of it. In 1533, it was defined as a discourse on human nature. The first use of the term in English was used in 1655 for another book title. It was not until the 19th century when anthropology became an official discipline. So the formation of definitions of the discipline began to emerge. These include Luke Burke, who defined ethnology, part of anthropology related to the study, is a science which investigates the mental and physical differences of mankind and which seeks to deduce from these investigations principles for human guidance in all the important relations of social existence. In the first volume of Anthropological Review, Paul Brokaw defined ethnology as being only a part of the science of man. The other part is general anthropology. These two terms then formed a single term, or science, for all human races from a great whole, and it is important to examine the group in its ensemble to determine its position in a series of beings, its common characteristics, whether in the anatomical and physiological or in the intellectual order. Okay, James Hunt defined anthropology as the science of the whole nature of man. Hunt proposed the term ethnology be expunged and adopt historical anthropology, aka paleoanthropology, descriptive anthropology, aka ethnology, and comparative anthropology, aka the science of humankind. Archaic anthropology was later added, and what we know today as archaeology. This might be where the diverging of anthropology came into play with the emergence of subfields or subfield disciplines/concentrations. Frederick Starr believed the word anthropology itself is used with several different meanings, and the names of subordinate sciences usually considered as applied within it, such as psychology, sociology, and so forth. Early anthropological training was related to museums and museum positions, and so those are some of the facts that I thought really stood out to me when I read the article. Like I said, you can read it if you would like. The link is in the description box, and I just highly recommend you read it. Okay. So the definitions of anthropology. So the general term for anthropology, according to National Geographic, is the study of origin and development of human societies and cultures, but there are several definitions, probably in part due to academia, which makes sense. So basically, I've seen American studies, I've seen folklore, which I'll probably have to get to in another video because this video will be way too long. According to the American Anthropological Association, anthropology is the study of what makes us human. And I read a little bit about that previously. Okay, so then also based on this, and then in general, definitions will also vary between each anthropological field. So the field of anthropology, I would say the most applicable fields of anthropology that are more stable in definition at least, and also in understanding, because it can get very abstract. I would say there are 6 subfields. So So archaeology is one, which again is the study of ancient and recent human past through material remains. Linguistic anthropology is the study of language. Cultural anthropology we basically went over. Social anthropology is the study of human society and cultures through a comparative lens. This one is offered at some universities and usually for graduate programs. I have not seen this in an undergrad program, I don't think. Okay, and then there is forensic anthropology, a subfield of physical anthropology that uses skeletal analysis and archaeological techniques to solve criminal cases. Bones, to show that she was a forensic anthropologist. And then there's biological, aka physical anthropology. Deals with the evolution of humans, their variability, and adaptations to environmental stresses. So those are most of the subfields of anthropology, at least the ones that have stable definitions and understanding. Like I said, they can get pretty abstract quickly, and I think some of the subfields I really just don't understand why they would need this, because it's almost like they've tried to divide it, but there's really no clarity there. It's, yeah, like I said, I'll go into another video about that. But yeah, anthropology is a changing discipline, so I'm not sure what it will turn into. So that's one thing to consider if you are considering majoring in it. Honestly, if I had to do it over again, I really love it, and I would probably major in it again. But I really would recommend minoring in it if you are looking at taking anthropology. Um, I would major in something else and maybe minor in anthropology because, well, I'll get into that, like I said, in another video because we are at 22 minutes right now. So this is essentially the field of anthropology. I hope this gave you more insight into what anthropology is and the study of anthropology, cultural anthropology especially, and a few of the subfields. So now that you know more about anthropology, what do you think? Would you consider majoring or minoring in anthropology? Leave me a comment in the comments below. I really am interested to see what you like or dislike about it, or your thoughts in general. Are you considering maybe learning it on a DIY basis? Um, yeah, just let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.